Good evening. Hello, how are you? It's 7 o'clock, we're ready to start. Welcome to Must See Monday. Must See Monday is a speaker series that the Cronkite has had for about the last 10 years or so. And typically we kick it off with our esteemed alumni, whom I will introduce in just a bit. But I can tell you that there's going to be about 11 or 12 Must See Mondays this semester. I hope each and every one of you can make all of them. All of them are going to be unique. They're going to be very interesting. So please try to make all of them, or at least as many as you can. Also too, don't forget, every time you attend a Must See Monday and you blog about it on Cronkite Conversations, that goes for some points where you can go to the Cronkite Luncheon in October to see who? Anderson Cooper, that's right, that's right. So again, I just wanted to do a little bit of housekeeping. So anyways, remember to blog Cronkite Conversations. In fact, I encourage all of our panelists up here to read those blogs after they're posted. Let's see what else. Before I get into the introductions, we're going to tell you about our folks up here, but how many of you are interested in public relations? Good, good. How about sports? Very good. Broadcast, news? Nice, nice. Digital publications? Very good, very good. All right, so now we know who's out there. How many freshmen are here? All right, all right. Okay, so let's get started with the introductions. To my left, first seat, and we're going to do this in alpha order. This is Catherine Fitzgerald. She came out of our master's program, and Catherine is a sports reporter at the Arizona Republic. Okay, and we're going to go through their career paths in just a bit. Next is Sydney Henderson. Sydney, she is at USA Today. She's an entertainment reporter for USA Today, and she works out of Phoenix, out of the Arizona Republic. And we have Lenny Wynn. Lenny is a digital marketing manager at U-Haul. Okay? And then we have Kalia Pang, and she is a senior public relations specialist at Sprouts Farmers Markets locally. And then finally, we have Aldo Vasquez, and he is a reporter for ABC 15, which is a Scripps-owned station here in Phoenix. So let's get started with our panels. So Catherine, tell us your career paths.
So I just started at the Arizona Republic as a sports reporter in February. Ahead of that, I went to North Carolina for undergrad. Right after that, interned at NFL Films for the NFL season in 2014 to 2015 as a production intern, so working on a lot of their documentaries, some short-term projects too. From there, I went back to Carolina to work for the athletic department there, still doing all video, focusing on teams, players, those stories. And after that, I worked in travel education for a bit, so I sprinkled that in, worked in Costa Rica for a summer before I came to Cronkite for grad school. I did their master's program here with the LA Bureau, so I got to go to LA also. Worked with ASU's media department for men's and women's basketball. Graduated December 2016, and then was at USA Today last summer before I finally started full-time out here.
Very good. Good. Sydney.
Hello, everyone. I'm from California. I'm a California native from the Inland Empire. I moved to Arizona about 6 years ago to attend the Cronkite School. After I graduated, I went to work for iHeartMedia for a year. And then from there, I went to the Arizona Republic. I was a social media trends reporter there. And just last month, I started with USA Today. So now I work in the entertainment department there as a Life Now reporter.
Hey everyone, I'm Lily. I My career journey is a little bit interesting. So I actually went to Cronkite and thought I was going to report in war zones and be a broadcast reporter. That was the dream coming in. And through a series of internships, some classes here at Cronkite, I kind of realized that I was more interested in how people behave online and also just producing digital content in general. I myself am an internet geek, and I'm on the internet all the time, and so I felt like I would have the most influence and impact in a digital marketing career, and now I'm here.
Hello. Had many positions since I graduated. That's what I love about PR. You can apply it very widely. So right after Cronkite, I took a position with ADP, which some of you might recognize that acronym from your paychecks. But I worked for their dealer services division doing social media and reputation management. That was back in the day when only everybody cared about Facebook and Twitter, and that landscape has changed a lot since. After ADP, I joined a small agency locally and worked with many independent restaurants, resorts, and in the hospitality industry, doing PR for various clients there. I've worked with Harkins Theaters, doing in-house PR for all of their locations nationwide. That took me to Scottsdale Museum of Contemporary Art afterwards, and now I'm at Sprouts Farmers Market representing all of our stores from coast to coast.
All right, hello everyone. Oh, working? Okay, hello everyone. So when I came to Cronkite, I was thinking I was going to go into print, and I was really dedicated and probably working with the Arizona Republic. One of my professors later on told me I had the personality for TV and went into one of the videography classes, and it just kind of went from there. So after Cronkite, I took a little bit of a break. I was scouted out by Salt Lake City. Salt Lake City called me and wanted me to be their morning reporter for the ABC station out there. So I did 2 years out there, and then I was scouted again out here in Phoenix, and I'm a lifelong Phoenician, so I wanted to come back home. So now I'm at ABC 15, and I've been there for about 1.5 years now.
So you can hear they all came here, they wanted to do something, and some things changed in their 4 years or 2 years here. And it just goes to show you, from what I heard too, is that you had multiple relevant experiences throughout your time here at the Cronkite School, and then you kind of found your way, you found your lane, and then you stayed with that lane, right, Lenny?
As I told you guys, I thought I wanted to do broadcast reporting. I thought TV was the life for me. So at Cronkite, I took multiple classes. I did digital entrepreneurship, which really taught me how to solve problems. I did some online media classes, which taught me HTML, taught me the inner workings of the internet, which I found really valuable in the workplace. And really quick, back to digital entrepreneurship, in that class I learned about solving problems, which traditionally might not seem like something that we do, but we actually all do that in our daily lives. And I guess a good example of that is I work at U-Haul, and the average American probably moves about 11 times in their lifetime. So that's 11 opportunities where I can really help someone and kind of guide them through that journey. And one problem I'm working on solving right now is we as human beings can't really conceptualize space. We don't know how much stuff we have and where it fits. So one of the big projects I'm working on is really answering that question, what fits inside a moving truck? We have multiple sizes, and so I guess to bring it back around, what I'm trying to say is I learned some things here at Cronkite I didn't think I was going to learn. I didn't think that working online, creating content could be influential. I didn't think I'd make an impact in people's lives, but where I'm at today, I mean, I get to really help people through the skills that I've learned here, which is videos, marketing, some copywriting. I mean, currently I am doing so many things that I didn't think J-School could teach me. So I guess what I'm trying to say is kind of be open-minded, because you might think you want to do something, but along the way, if you take an internship that's a little bit outside of your comfort zone, you might realize that you actually want something else.
So Aldo, you said you came here wanting to do print journalism, correct? And then somebody suggested that you try television. It seems like it's just the opposite, where many students come here wanting to do television, and then they veer off into something else. So what is so exciting or rewarding about being a television reporter?
Well, I'm sure everyone's probably thinking you get to be on TV and everyone sees you and recognizes you and wants your autograph and all that stuff. Sure, that's a cool part of it. It doesn't happen a lot. Trust me, it doesn't happen to me a lot. I don't get recognized quite a bit. But I think the rewarding part of the job is just being able to tell a good, compelling story. And a lot of the times you get to, hold people accountable. I think that's the most important part. For example, today it was a heartbreaking story that I had to work on about a woman being assaulted on the freeway. You don't think that this would happen, I worked all day trying to figure out who this woman was, trying to find her, hoping she would tell her story, and literally up to like 30 minutes before the newscast, she calls me up. She heard that I was trying to get a hold of her. And she appreciated my patience and my understanding for what she had just gone through literally no more than 24 hours ago. But she felt empowered to tell her story, to stand up and talk about what she just had to deal with and all the stress, the anxiety, the emotions that she's going through at that very moment. And so I felt that it was my duty to make sure that I was able to tell her story as accurately and as compassionately as I possibly could, because so many people are going to be watching the newscast tonight who have been through that experience, and now here's this one woman putting it out there and trusting me with that story. And so, that's probably the most rewarding part, is that you can affect people in a short amount of time so quickly, not only on TV, but also on online. And you can also, not only that, but you could also hold people in power accountable, and that's, and have an impact in the world and help change laws, and we do that a lot at ABC 15.
Did you always want to do sports?
I think by the time I knew I wanted to do journalism, I knew I wanted to do sports. A cover letter that I wrote when I was applying to jobs was about how when I was in kindergarten, I thought I wanted to be a paleontologist. So that was a bit of a change. But within journalism itself, I've always loved how even in the sports realm, you can tell so many stories that touch on other things, whether it's on social issues, political. There's so much crossover between sports and the entire world. I think sports alone are really exciting, just the games and the players themselves. But I love that we're able to use games that people love to talk about stories that are more important outside of that too.
And Sydney, did you start off as a print person focused on publications, or did you want to do broadcasting?
I wanted to do broadcast, but then I discovered that I'm actually kind of shy, so I kind of went back into print and writing. I also wanted to be a sports reporter like Catherine. But like Lenny said, my path just kind of went in a different direction. I kind of leaned towards social media. One thing I definitely learned in journalism is that it's ever evolving. So the ways that we consume news is always changing, and social media is definitely becoming a huge platform. So that led me down that path. I was a social media trends reporter at Arizona Republic, and basically that was covering viral content, content that was trending, and then in the same token, trying to find stories that you have the potential to go viral and have the potential to be reshared a lot. That's kind of the power of the internet, and when you see something that moves you, it goes crazy. And trying to think of an example. So I wrote a story on a veteran who was terminally ill, and he asked his wife to hold his cell phone, and after a couple hours, he was really upset and told her, like, oh, I don't want it anymore. I guess no one wants to talk to me. So I happened to come across the wife asking, she was in a forum on Facebook asking veterans to just text her husband's number because he felt like no one wanted to speak to him. So we wrote a story on that, and it went pretty viral. The veteran ended up receiving over 100,000 text messages and calls on his cell phone, to the point where it had to be shut off. So that just kind of shows that something, kind of how you said, you can change people's lives and really improve the quality of their life, all based on the power of the internet. So social media is really powerful.
And part of social media is public relations, or vice versa. Kalia, why did you get into PR, and what are you getting out of it right now?
I got into PR for pretty practical reasons. I started here at Cronkite wanting to go into print journalism. It was 2007 and the landscape was changing really, really quickly and dramatically, and I was a little bit unsure what would be out there when I graduated. So I switched to PR because honestly, any organization, any business, any person can benefit from it, whether they have discovered it or not. So with that, I've been able to work with a lot of great organizations, meet a lot of great business owners and families that have amazing stories behind what they do, and to be able to tell that story and kind of dictate the story and the action that you want consumers or readers to take by working with reporters and putting pitches out there. That's really cool, but I love the personal level, getting to know clients and really help them help their business and enrich their lives through PR.
You just said something really powerful that I think you guys will all start to learn the next couple of years. So knowing how to communicate with people, knowing how to communicate with different audiences, and really getting yourself out there with a bunch of different diverse groups, that's something that we talk about a lot at Cronkite, about how you should learn how to communicate, you should know how to talk to people. And even if you thought you were going to be a print journalist or a broadcast journalist, or maybe you just leave journalism altogether, being able to communicate with people is going to open many doors for you guys. And I don't mean just verbally, I mean in your writing. If you take things and you bring it down to earth and you can really make people understand, you're going to be successful. I know it seems crazy, but there's a lot of people out there who just don't know how to communicate. And at the Cronkite School, they kind of teach you how to hone and sharpen that skill. I mean, a lot of you are here because you're naturally good communicators, but really start to hone that trait and that talent, and you'll make it far.
So what kinds of new jobs are out there? New jobs, new titles. Some of you mentioned some of them earlier, but in your area, Catherine, anything new?
Yeah, definitely. So when I was first hired, my title was social mobile sports reporter. I think that just speaks to what everyone was saying about how the internet's shaping so much of our coverage now. So it was a lot of focus on finding stories that were trending with a sports angle, usually an Arizona angle too, and starting to capitalize on that as soon as we saw it happening. So an example was on Saturday, after the news about Senator McCain was starting to break, we saw a lot of sports teams and players weighing in on that. We saw moments of silence I happened to be at the Diamondbacks game when they announced it, but ASU had a few games where they had moments of silence. So it was being on top of that as far as social media and starting to turn that into a story as it's happening. People are talking about sports all the time, so there's a lot of fun stories, whether it's a reaction piece, whether it's, I don't know, NBA players arguing at each other on Twitter. There's a lot going on in the social media realm, and I think sports is an exciting place to capitalize on that.
So talking about social media and PR, do these professional athletes, do they hire people to do only their social media?
Yeah.
Yes?
I mean, not everyone.
Right.
There are definitely times where you can tell that it's an athlete's thoughts versus, there's been a few times recently where like someone tweeted out a screenshot of their notes and it had in it like, hey, just post this on Twitter. Like you could tell that it came straight from a PR person. But yeah, there's definitely, if you're interested in PR, tons of opportunities in sports, whether it's with a team or with individual players.
Any other new jobs out there that you can think of? New titles?
At Sprouts, we have a full-time influencer program and a full-time PR person that manages that. So that's really something that's become more popular with social media, and it's a really great asset to PR because you're having people that connect with specific audiences. So for Sprouts, whether it's mom bloggers, fitness or wellness influencers, tell the story directly from their lens. So that was something surprising, something I didn't anticipate while I was here at Cronkite, but it's a big opportunity for many different industries, and especially something like Sprouts that relates so much directly to consumers.
How about you, Aldo?
Podcast world, it's pretty evolving right now. A lot of production jobs are going away. It's all going automated, so it's all, the entire studio is just run by robots now, and that's what we're switching to at ABC within the next week or two. So. Kind of a little scary for some of us, just because if we have breaking news, sometimes everything is computerized, and if breaking news happens, how are we going to navigate that when the computer's telling us to do something that we're not supposed to? Michael, you brought up a good point too about drone operators. There are a lot of stations. I think Fox 10 has drones now as well. So I'm sure they're hiring those kinds of jobs as well. There was another station in Salt Lake that was also operating drones, and they had to go through a bunch of courses to hire those people as well. But one of the bigger ones that we're seeing right now in the broadcast world is social media. We're hiring a lot of what we're called real-time editors, real-time assignment editors, because we are seeing that it's moving towards a digital realm, and if we can see that we're pushing and reaching more people on the internet. And so, stories will take different layouts when we push them online as opposed to TV, but we're trying to look for those people that have that kind of edge on the digital platform that can help us reach a bigger audience. And I think that's right now where a lot of the jobs are going towards in the broadcast world. And multimedia journalists are becoming bigger, even in bigger markets like here in Phoenix. Before you wouldn't hear about just an MMJ working in Phoenix. Now you do, and they're very vital to a newsroom. So I think those are the main ones that I can think of.
Thank you. So we've learned about their careers and how it's changing, how the media landscape is changing. But they attended the Cronkite School. They were sitting in your seat right now just a few years ago, going to a Must-See Monday. So tell us about your school experience here at the Cronkite School. And so we'll start with Lenny. So what kind of internships did you do, and how did those internships prepare you for the workplace? In fact, you were an intern at U-Haul, and now you work at U-Haul.
I was, yes. So that's a great point, Mike. My career started while I was at the Cronkite School. So I did a few internships. I dabbled in some PR internships. I did some print journalism, and I interned at U-Haul as a social media intern. One of the first things I did was I ran the U-Haul Pinterest account. Crazy, right? Like, why would U-Haul have a Pinterest account? But from there, I was an intern for about 2 years. I started there the day after I turned 20, and as the industry evolved, I grew with it. So social media became more than just social media. It became talking to people online. It became to learning how to communicate through multiple channels like email, not just social, but websites. And I guess some things I learned from my internship, as I'd mentioned before, is learning how to communicate. So working in cross-functional teams, really just helping strategize for the market as a whole, and not just thinking of, oh, I need to write that blog post on best tips to move, but really, how can I help someone from the beginning to end, whether they're moving, whether they're getting their propane dispensed. U-Haul does many things, not just moving. But I guess what I'm trying to touch on with these internships is you get real life experience. So you can, I'm not knocking any other job because I was a college student at one point and I worked multiple to pay my tuition, but really try to get some internships. And there are some out there that are paid that you won't be fetching coffee. You'll actually be working as a full functioning member as the team.
Where did you intern?
I interned with Lenny. I was at U-Haul as well. I would definitely, in addition to everything you say, it teaches you how to multitask. When you are in a job, you kind of have to be able to balance multiple things and be able to drop something at a dime's notice to take on something that's more important. That's different than the classroom setting where you have, your assigned homework, and that doesn't really change. I know in my position now, multitasking is more important than ever. You have to be able to juggle a couple of stories at a time and be able to, like I said, drop everything for breaking news. The latest example for me, when Aretha Franklin passed away, you literally have to drop everything and get breaking news out as fast as possible, get the confirmations on her passing as fast as possible. And if you aren't able to juggle that, it wouldn't really be able to work. So I feel like that's really important. Also, like Lenny said, the real world experience, working with different teams. There's video teams, there's the writing team, social media, home front, home page. what other teams? So many that you have to be in constant communication with each and every one of them. It's not just your teacher or your classmate. So everything has to be communicated effectively through email, IM. Also with journalism, it's a job where you're always on, you're always checking your email, always on Twitter, so it doesn't just stop when you clock out. You kind of never clock out, but it's worth it.
You were in our master's program, correct? And so as a master's student, when did you have time to work an internship? I think you said you were at NFL Films.
Yeah, that was before I started here. But so I did the master's program in 3 semesters and did 1 in LA. So I really only had 2 semesters in Arizona, but there's definitely opportunities to do either internships. I worked with ASU men's and women's basketball through the career fair that y'all set up. So I was working with like in-house media, shooting highlights, shooting press conferences. But there's also a lot of opportunities besides like formal internships. I worked with WCSN. They broadcast a lot of games here. You can write for them as well. So with the master's program, since it's so condensed, it was a little bit tougher to fit in as many internships, but the class experience we were getting was real world experience too. We had a few classes where we needed to have assignments be like picked up by publications for them to count. So it was definitely still getting a lot of real world reps too.
And WCSN is Walter Cronkite Sports Network.
Yeah.
Okay. Aldo.
Internships?
Yes.
So I only did 1 internship, and that's one of the things that I regret about my time here at Cronkite is that I didn't do more internships. I worked at Channel 12 for about like 6 months or so, and that really kind of opened up my eyes to the broadcast world. I was taking classes here, learning how to write, edit, shoot, all that stuff, but it wasn't until I actually got into that newsroom that I realized just everything that goes on behind the scenes and everything that goes into putting a broadcast on air. And it was really eye-opening just how hard these, reporters and directors, producers are working nonstop to put something on air that, you may only see for 30 seconds, but they spend, 20, 30, 40 minutes, working on this one little piece. And so I started off on as a online intern working with their online stuff, and then Celeste Rodriguez, who now is at Channel 10, kind of took me under her wing, wanted to show me around, and she kind of took me out with her and checked out some of the stories that she was working on. And so that was kind of what really pushed me into like, okay, this is something I really want to do, and this is something that I'm going to really enjoy. And so I know that I'm in the right spot. And from there, it just kind of took off to where I am now.
While I was here, and to piggyback on Aldo's comment, I would encourage you to have as many as you can. There are so many opportunities. My first was with a local radio station. I thought maybe I'd want to go into radio broadcast, and I discovered it wasn't quite the right atmosphere for me. So you can really use that time to explore what you might think you're interested in and see if it's a good fit, see what the people are like, see what the production is like. My second was with the local PR agency, and that was a really, really great experience, just being immersed in the professional setting and seeing and just simply observing how the account managers communicate with each other, how they communicate to clients, how ideas are pitched to clients, and just the nuances of the tones of the words used for pitches, and how the ideas are presented. That was really eye-opening to me. I think that's something that you can kind of pick up on through courses here, but when you're around it for 15, 20 hours a week, you can learn a lot just simply by absorbing the atmosphere and how people are communicating around you.
So not only do you get experience, professional experience, some hands-on training at the internship, but the other benefit is networking, correct? And so you said Lenny and Sydney, you guys were at U-Haul at the same time, and then Catherine, who were you with? Or was there somebody else up here?
Me and Catherine worked together.
We were at the Republic at the same time, yeah.
Exactly, so you guys work at the Arizona Republic. Yeah. So explain to the audience just the importance of networking and just really just keeping in touch with one another, because you never know who you're gonna cross paths with, right?
I would say that when I went to iHeart and the Arizona Republic, every time I interviewed, the person I was speaking with made a point to mention that, oh, you're a Cronkite kid, you're from the Walter Cronkite School. We know that they churn out great journalists with an impeccable attention to detail. So just even going here kind of acts as a reference in self. It speaks volumes for the education that you did receive. So that definitely helps as well. So Cronkite networks for itself, basically. And then also just being on the stage with two people that I have worked with just shows that you will come across people, and it's nice to have relationships with them. You never know when that will help you further your career. For me, at the Arizona Republic, it is a network within USA Today, and that helped me take the step to work for USA Today. So that was also networking as well. So it's just, and if I can do it, I'm, like I said, a little shy, but if I can do it, anybody can do it, and it's very important to furthering your career.
I can tell you that the Cronkite name has cachet, so make sure you put that on your resume. I've had former students come back and say, I wouldn't have gotten that interview until they saw that I was from the Cronkite School. Then all of a sudden, they decided to interview that person. So again, put that on your resume as you guys are drafting those things. Yes.
That's very true. So I am actually in the process of hiring and building my own team. And when I see Cronkite on the resume, it really resonates because I know that the Cronkite students are taught to work hard. I mean, we're under tight deadlines, we perfect our writing, and there's some things in the real world you'll meet other people who don't quite have that work ethic, but this school forces you to. If you made it through the Cronkite School, then you went through some vigorous training, and that means that you qualify for a certain job. So as Mike said, put it on your resumes. It may not seem important, but it really does make a difference.
Aldo?
I would piggy off of what you were just saying there, because a lot of news directors across the country want to hire Cronkite students. And when I would be interviewing with some jobs, they would say, we want Cronkite kids here at this station. ABC 15 is very well known for hiring a lot of Cronkite students. And we have, I'm working with a lot of my former classmates from here over there at the station. So, and when I would interview, no matter whether it was, in Salt Lake, in North Carolina, if it was in New York, they all said, we love Cronkite students because we know what they're capable of doing, and we know the kind of stuff that you guys produce. And I mean, the Newswatch, or I think it's Cronkite News now, you guys produce amazing stuff. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that we want to see on TV, and it's second to none to what other schools have. I mean, this school, this name carries a lot of weight around the world, and you guys are very fortunate to not only be here but have professors who have that experience that are sharing it with you. So to kind of go to the whole networking thing, get in touch with those professors that you feel like you can learn something from, who are from that field that you want to go into, and really get to know them and pick their brain. I mean, I have a lot of professors here who I still keep in touch with, who I still go to for advice, and they've helped me branch out, meet other professionals in higher markets on the national level who now look at my stuff and kind of help me harness my strong points, help me with my weak points, and get me to that next level. So I mean, you guys are well ahead on getting into that professional level right now.
This is a rigorous program, as you will find out, and some of you who are a little bit older already can attest to. Just this past weekend when Senator McCain passed, we had students and we had faculty, we had staff working on a Saturday evening just to get the show on the air and to do a really good job at telling Senator McCain's story and bringing that to the public. So they were actually working on a Saturday evening. So it is real life. It really is. So try to take advantage of those opportunities. So you're professionals now. You were out there sitting a few years ago out in the audience. As you look back at your Cronkite time as a student, was there anything that you would do differently as you look back on it now? Go ahead, Catherine.
I think for me, it would have just been helpful to get more reps on deadlines specifically. That's the hardest thing to simulate outside of, actually having it. You're going to be doing a lot of work on deadline, and I know so many of us were always like, oh, I work best under pressure. Like, that's when my ideas come out, and you can't really recreate that. So yeah, I think any definitely intern, get experience in so many different ways, but also try to find ways that you'll definitely be writing or producing content on deadline. That's going to be really helpful.
You have so many resources on this campus between here and Tempe. I wish I were more involved in extracurricular activities, clubs, organizations, you name it. I feel like that was a missed opportunity just in terms of meeting new people and kind of exposing myself to new things. I'll be honest, I was more focused on a relationship in college and prioritized that instead of everything else I could have been doing. So I would definitely recommend that because you're at a great university, a great school, and you have all of that at your fingertips.
Definitely agree with what you said. I was working full-time in addition to being a full-time student, so I kind of was prioritizing work a little bit. I would have definitely taken more chance to do the activities, Cronkite News especially. I didn't have the chance to do Cronkite News. And just seeing the kind of like reel and film and stuff that you can show to future employers, that's really valuable. So definitely take the chance to do that, and just take advantage of everything Cronkite has to offer.
Echo what everyone said. Obviously, you guys know that the Cronkite School has many resources available to you. I mean, we send people to the Olympics, guys. Like, that's opportunities that are unheard of outside of this space. But if I could do something differently, I don't know if I would change anything. I would just do more of taking advantage of those resources. And one thing I didn't think I would need is skills in Excel. Crazy, right? But being in digital marketing, there are certain things that you may not think comes in handy, like knowing HTML, knowing how to use Excel, knowing how to analyze data. But these are all things that still apply to the real world. That I know that there were some classes here at Cronkite that taught you, like precision reporting. I didn't take it. Wish I did. And again, online media, I think I had mentioned it before. I did take that class, but I think the first time there's two classes, online media and advanced online media. I don't think I took it seriously until advanced online media, but if I had started that training maybe earlier on, I think I would have been a little bit more equipped for the real world. So as I said, learn Excel, take advantage of the resources available to you, and network. The Cronkite School always has some pretty influential, important people here. But I do want to talk about how it's not just who you know, because that's going to open the doors for you, it's going to get your foot in the door, but it's also what you know. So have some substance behind that so that when you do have those opportunities, once you do get through that door, you have something to show for it.
Record, but I would say, definitely take advantage of all the things that Cronkite has to offer, get more involved in the activities that go on here, and network not only with, your professors, but with your fellow classmates. You never know where someone's going to end up, and you never know when you will need to, rely on somebody else to help you out and get to that next level. So I definitely would say, just keep getting involved with the school. If you haven't had the chance to go to Cronkite News or you're thinking about it, I would definitely say do it. You won't regret it. It's the closest thing that you will get to a newsroom, and I mean that newsroom it beats the first newsroom that I started in. It has better technology than we did, so you're definitely going to learn a lot from that class alone. So just stay involved and take advantage of the opportunities that this school has, because you're not going to get this chance again.
One more question before we open it up to the audience for your questions. Let's see, so what kind of skills do you think are needed today and even tomorrow? What types of skills should these students be learning to help them succeed in the workplace tomorrow, next year, the year after?
I mean, obviously you're here because you want to be a good communicator. And it's something that even me to this day am working on every single day. Just how can I reach my audience? How can I tell a story to them in a clear, concise, but also understandable way? And when you're, as a broadcast person, you have to bring your personality out there, connect with the audience, and bring yourself into it. It's almost like you're talking to, your best friend and telling them the story but you're telling them in about a minute to a minute, 15 seconds, and if it's a political story that's very convoluted, sometimes it takes, a lot to try to condense that into basically a very short form. So definitely communication, but you also need to know how to multitask because you have a lot of things coming at you, especially in the broadcast world. You're working maybe, you maybe have 2-3 hours to gather a whole story, and then you have to prepare for a 4, 5, 6, and a 10 o'clock newscast. And you have to, just know how to prioritize what information you need to put out there the quickest so that the audience knows exactly what's going on at that time, especially on breaking news like Senator McCain this past weekend. It's all hands on deck. You need to know where everyone is at that right time. And then apart from that, apart from the TV, as a broadcast person, you in the future and going forward, you need to know how to communicate online and how to push your product out there as well online. And because the social media part of it in the broadcast world is completely different than what it is on TV, and the way that you tell a story online is going to be completely different than what you tell on TV. So, I mean, sometimes there are stories that we want to do that they think, it'll do well online. It's going to get a lot of views, but maybe we shouldn't dedicate a reporter to it for the TV. So, put something together for the online version, and then we'll move you on to something else. So just understand the ever-evolving world that as a broadcast person, you're going to need to know how to be a good communicator, multitasker, and how to handle the digital world.
I think it's really interesting that you said learn how to explain it to your best friend, to kind of bring it down to words that really resonate with everyone. So that person for me is not really a friend, but it's my mom. So my mom is a first-generation immigrant, doesn't speak English very well. She's brilliant in her own language, but when it comes to English, I really have to break things down for her. So things that I use, things that I apply, that I learned here is the inverted pyramid. If you guys don't know what that is yet, you kind of start with the most important things, the who, what, where, when, and then you kind of break it down into more important details. So I don't mean just in communicating that's gonna help, but in every marketing idea or every concept that I present or pitch, I start that way. I talk about the big picture, who's it about, what's it for, when, how are we gonna do it, and why is this important? And then I take that and I break it down into the minor details. And I know that's something that I don't know if you guys have taken your classes and learned about the inverted pyramid, but it is actually something that applies in all aspects of your life, in communicating through online, on TV. So just learn that, learn it well, and just perfect it.
So I kind of touched on it earlier, but definitely being flexible, being able to roll or go with the flow. Your editors will love the fact that you are able to take on whatever they throw at you. Also, just having a positive attitude, that's something you can always control. The newsroom gets very stressful, especially with deadlines. So just being the go-to person where they know that you'll be able to hold your composure and get it done is something that will win your editors over. Also, I would say just practice being as thorough as possible. We're kind of in a time where credibility of journalism is, kind of under attack, so you have to dot your I's and cross your T's, everything that you have to do, because in the internet, people will call you on mistakes and they will call you on things that they don't agree with. So just practice as being as accurate as possible, because at the end of the day, that's what journalism is about.
For everyone, but definitely for sports too, I think there's so many great classes here at Cronkite that are outside of sports-specific reporting classes that you should definitely take advantage of. In my grad class, there were a lot of people who took the business journalism classes. There's a ton of business in sports, so that was a clear overlap. For me, it was Rick Rodriguez's depth reporting class. It's the best class I took at Cronkite in any of my years of school. So everyone should take it, but it really helps you. There's a fall class and then a spring class with an international reporting trip, but you're learning how to put a story in the context of somewhere else, an in-depth story. I was able to do a sports story with mine, but I think anytime you can get a skill set outside of the straight and narrow sports reporting is really gonna help you. And if you can combine it with something you're passionate about on the side too, that'll make it fun, and also it'll make you so much better for that.
Before we get to Kalia, if you guys have any questions, we ask that you come up here to the middle mic. So if you want to have a question asked of the panelists, please come up now. Kalia, what skills do you think our students need to succeed next year and the year after and beyond?
I think specifically for PR, to prepare you for the job market and positions you're going to encounter, really be flexible, because serving a client doesn't mean just writing and pitching a press release or editing content. Sometimes that means, for me, it's been taking reservations for a restaurant, giving creative direction on branding in an agency. One time I literally had to source a donkey costume in 12 hours. So you have to wear many hats. It's really fun if you're in the atmosphere that's right for you. But really expect the unexpected and find the joy in it and know that you're learning and meeting great people and growing along the way.
One thing that I've seen, go ahead. Yeah.
So one thing I wish I had done in my internships, and so at Cronkite I was able to get a lot of work published, and it was really exciting to have all these things to show. But I wish what I could have known was how successful were those things. All those news stories that I got published, did people read them? Was it successful? Did people like them? So that it's interesting because as you start to search for jobs and as you start looking at careers, people will ask you, oh, you did that, but how did it go? Was it successful? Did people enjoy it? So I know that a lot of times in your internships or even in the roles that you're playing, you may not get to see that side of things, like how successful your work was, but dig deeper. Ask your professors, ask the people who are publishing your work, hey, how many views did that get? Did people like it? So just something to think about, something I wish I had known before I had graduated.
I think that's super important. Just kind of building a sense of being a critic of yourself in your work here, asking questions, taking time to reflect on, what you did last year and how could you have grown and learned from that. That's something that I find myself doing every single day as I progress in my career. But that's the best way to get better at your work and really grow. It's not something that necessarily comes easily, but it's very important, especially in this industry.
Say something, Sydney?
Add something to that is, you reach out to, if you're doing broadcasts and you're critiquing your own work, but reach out to, some of the professionals out here in the industry as well, and have them critique your work and ask them how you can improve your writing, how you could have shot something differently, how you could have edited something differently. You'd be surprised how many times I reached out to a couple of the people, some of the reporters out here, and they were willing and able to help us out. And they feel honored to have a Cronkite student reach out, ask them for a critique on your work. And it's something that I also would love to do for any student that needs any help with any of their stuff. So don't be afraid to reach out, I guess is what I would say.
And to piggyback off what Lenny said about metrics, if you guys are getting your stories published, you can definitely include that on your resume. I would actually recommend that because jobs love to see what your work is doing, who's viewing it, how well it is. So that's something that can really build up your resume. And I would, if I were where you are, where I was, I definitely would want to hear that you should be starting to build your resume. It's something that you can continue to build throughout your time at Cronkite, and metrics and facts and stats really perform well on resumes.
Thank you very much. So just real quick, I think you guys should know how to shoot video, how to edit video, how to edit audio, and of course do the social analytics. Those are skills that I'm starting to see a lot where employers are saying, do you have students who can do this? Do you have graduates who can do this? So, okay. Richard, what's your question?
Hi guys. So since you guys are young alums, you still are going to be in the business for a pretty long time. So I'm wondering, do you guys have any goals or dreams you still would like to achieve?
Big one. Definitely, I'm in my first full-time job, so I think there's a lot I still want to do. End of the day, for me, it always goes back to good storytelling. The more people I can meet and find a really captivating story, that always excites me, so I don't think that's something I'll ever stop wanting to do. And I think a lot of, when you guys are in your first jobs, a lot of it'll be kind of like nuts and bolts, just getting stories out quickly, a lot of day-to-day content, but anytime you can carve out more in-depth reporting, that's always what I want to do. And I encourage you guys, even in internships, pitch your own ideas and find time to do stories like that.
Starting at a nice network, and I would like to eventually work my way up throughout it.
I would probably say that my goal is to always continue to provide value to my audience, whether that be through digital marketing, through the content that I publish and create. I want to always help people, inform them, and help them make decisions. It's mainly why I went into digital marketing, is I realized how influential it can be when you're a great communicator online. And so I would say one of the biggest goals is to continue to provide value and help my audience.
This is something we do at Sprouts every year. You know, we wrap up a year, wrap up a busy season, and we reflect upon what we accomplished, but what we want to do next. So my real life goal this year at Sprouts was to get one of our products on Oprah's list of favorite things. We'll see if that happens.
My goal would obviously be to make it into the national stage, so whether it be CNN, ABC, NBC, that's where I'd like to end up.
All right, so my question was, you guys talked a lot about networking in this presentation, and I was wondering sort of, you talked about how you reached out to different news stations and stuff asking if they critique your work. What's something that the rest of you guys did to sort of get your foot in the door before you actually graduated?
That's a great question. I think for a while I kind of didn't understand networking. I thought it was like a cheat code, sketchy, like I didn't get it. But it really, a lot of it happens organically, just from the people you work with. When you do good work, they'll vouch for you. And that's going to open more doors for you. But I would also say there's a lot of professional networks that can really help y'all. For me, it's the Association for Women in Sports Media. They have a chapter here. That's how I interned at USA Today. That's how I met people that I applied for jobs for. Even now in my first full-time job, like there's women who I've met from that who will reach out to me and be like, hey, I don't know if you saw, but this job is hiring, you should know about it. There's different groups for interest. There's a lot of professional networks. I can't remember off the top of my head what all Cronkite has, but I would look to professional networks like that in like a formal setting too, as a way that can really help you. And it's, I don't know, like I went to conferences, met a lot of people there, so it's a bit more structured, which was helpful for, to me, where I was like meeting people that way.
The best way to find a job is through your network. You know, you can go online, yeah, but if you know somebody who knows somebody who knows a job, who has this job, it's the best way.
For me, for example, when I was trying to get a job out here in Phoenix, I went to Mark Lodato at Cronkite News. Heather Dunn there happened to know the news director at ABC 15. You know, I told her that I was, you know, trying to get a job back here at home, and she kind of planted the seed in his ear that I, you know, hey, take a look at this guy. He's coming from Salt Lake City. And like 2 months later, I got the call from the assistant news director, and I think, you know, she was able to help me out there. So, I mean, definitely stay in touch with all these folks.
Hit the nail on the head. So networking, sometimes people think is people who are already in the industry or someone who already has an established job. It is that, but it's also the people sitting next to you, because most people in this room are going to go on and do great things. And the best thing you can do right now is keep in touch with those people. Be kind. You may have differing opinions, but just know that the person next to you could be successful sometime in the future, and it could be your foot in the door for that next big job or that dream job.
Evening, everybody. My question is more on the personal side. You guys really mentioned a lot about how you love helping people out. You know, that's more of a humanitarian thing for you guys. My question is, what do you enjoy more? Covering that starry-eyed story that you kind of always wanted, whether it be sports or whether it be ABC 15, or kind of helping out in the community and kind of getting that connection feel when you do what you've done and accomplish that goal that you guys are achieving?
You can merge both. Working for a local affiliate, working for the Arizona Republic, you're able to be directly in the community. You're also doing those, working on the stories that touch lives. Recently in, I believe it was March or April, there was a whole big Red for Ed movement where the teachers were rallying, and we were able to be directly out there for the whole 7 days. And if you guys are new to Phoenix in March, it's still about 100 degrees, so it's pretty hot. So we're just out there, kind of more like grassroots reporting directly with people, so you're able to hear their stories and see why this is so powerful, what this means to them, and you're able to report that to to people who kind of had a different view of teachers or had a different view of, them leaving their students. So there's all these different things that you can accurately tell in a story being out in the community. So I feel like you're able to do both.
This doesn't fully answer your question, but I feel like the best stories you do get both, where you have a really powerful narrative that you're sharing with people, but also you can see how it trickles out in the community. We talk a lot about getting negative feedback, but you will hear good things from people too. And that's always really exciting when it happens. So even if not every story is able to do both of those, I think that's what keeps all of us in the industry, is striving for those particular stories.
TV, it's all community. We're trying to figure out the story that's going to impact you the most. When we go into a newsroom and into our meetings, when we're pitching stories, we're asking ourselves, we're putting ourselves in your shoes and asking, why would this person care? And if it's not touching a lot, more than just one person, then we're asking ourselves, why are we doing this story? So every story that we try to do, we try to reach a broad group of people that's going to impact the most. And sure, I go out there and I get to report on that story and talk about that person that I'm helping out, but it's also helping out somebody else as well in the community. So it's your question is one and the same, I would say.
Whether it be PR, digital marketing, journalism, TV, we're all in the business of people. We want to reach people, we want to communicate. So I think your question about is it one or the other, it's really both, right? Everything we do here is to reach people, to either tell their stories or to help them in a certain way.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it.
Hey guys, my name's Peyton Gallagher. I'm a freshman here, and I just packed my entire life up, moved across the country, and left a place I've not left in 16 years to go catch. Actually, I flew in, so we power shopped and whatnot, but I've lived there 16 years. Now I'm here. I'm trying to catch this dream that I've had since I was like 12. I've always wanted to do play-by-play. It sounds like a lot of times people get to college and they've got this mindset for where they're going to be when they get out, and it's not always there. That's kind of a mixed bag with this panel. I was just wondering, I'm having a hard time with that give and take of being singularly focused on one thing and then also realizing that in this industry you don't really get to choose where you start. So can you give me any advice about how I should engage the next 4 years dealing with that kind of dichotomy?
That's necessarily true that you don't get to choose where you start. I do agree that it may be difficult because there are multiple tracks you can go down, but if you know exactly what you want to do and you're very passionate about that, there are certain steps you can take to get there. So let's say, for example, after listening to us today, you decide that you want to go into digital marketing or you want to get into TV. There are classes and skills that you can kind of build up to get there. So when it comes to the question of where do you start or what steps to take, I would say yes, be open-minded, take every class you can, learn from people, but also if there is that one goal you want to reach, just never forget it and just think about the couple steps or the multiple steps you have to do to get there. This might seem silly, but my roommate here at Cronkite, she knew that she wanted to go to Africa at one point and kind of tell stories over there. And so she posted on her dorm wall a picture of Africa, and she raised money and she took the classes and got into the program she needed to get there. But all the while doing that, she's still taking her photo classes, her video classes, she's still writing. I think she did Cronkite News for a little bit. So just because you have one goal and there's multiple avenues to go down doesn't mean you won't get to that goal. It might just change a little bit along the way.
Arizona. I also moved from across the country, so feel you on the big move. And I think your question's great. That's what so many of us are trying to figure out. When you're applying for early jobs, they want you to be able to do everything, but there's an upside to having expertise in one area. For sports specifically, I think, I'm mostly writing now, but it was important when I applied that I could shoot video, I could edit video, I could do social media. So I think what it is you want to know at least basics of everything, and you're going to get that in your classes here for sure. But if you love play-by-play, try to start to find ways where you can get reps on that here. If it's with WCSN, you might start on ASU volleyball. I did stuff with ASU lacrosse, and then work your way up to bigger things. But I would never shy away from learning any skill set you can. It's going to mean a lot when you have all those varied skills, but if you know what you want, stay open-minded, but also like, don't just, you don't have to let that go either. Yeah.
Yeah, I would definitely, because I wanted to be a sports reporter too. It's definitely hard getting your foot in the door if you don't have those reps, like Catherine said. So I would take as many classes as you can to build your experience on that, to give you something that you can actually show. And if your career does take you other places, you do have to be flexible and know that just because I'm here right now doesn't mean that down the road, you know, I have to give that dream up, because we're 2 years out of college in our careers and we still have decades to go. So just because you're doing what you are right now, get the most you can from it, learn from it, build your networks, and you can eventually get there. So you don't have to give it up, but just try to take as many classes and get as much tangible stuff for it.
Real fast, also, like, even though a lot of our paths kind of changed, for me, it was a pleasant surprise. I was all video before, but now that I'm writing it, I never thought it was a bad thing. It was like oh, actually, I like this too. So if you find out you like something else, don't be scared by that.
Well, thank you so much. It is 8 o'clock, perfect timing. So thank you, Aldo. Thank you, Kalia.